Jesus said, "Man cannot live on bread alone, but from every word that proceeds from the mouth of God." You're listening to Daily Truth.
This is speculative, my prediction, if I had to guess, but I think that it's likely and perhaps even probable. God is just, and the Scripture teaches plainly that God will not be mocked. What a man sows, he will reap. And God ultimately, eventually, will get justice. It's important that we recognize that God is slow to anger, but God is not indefinitely tolerant. That's why tolerance is not inherently a virtue. It is not inherently a Christian virtue. Our God is not indefinitely or eternally tolerant. The Scripture teaches plainly that God is slow to anger, or He is long-suffering. He is patient and kind, but He is also just, which means that eventually God repays evil with what it deserves. God is not indefinitely tolerant. And when God repays evil what it justly deserves, God tends to do so in fitting ways, in appropriate ways. Right? That the drowning of the Hebrew boys that came about as an edict from Pharaoh, ultimately, when it came time for God to judge Pharaoh in Egypt, He gave them the very same demise. That they had drowned the Hebrew boys in Israel, and they then, in just retaliation, drowned in the sea by God. And I would not be surprised that a nation that commits itself to murdering children in their mother's wombs through abortion in multiple different ways, but one common way being an injection through the womb into the child, I would not be surprised if that same nation, in God's just retaliation, eventually had many adults perish by an injection through euthanasia. And not just euthanasia for someone who's 86 years old and has a terminal disease and chronic pain. I don't know if you're familiar, but I believe it was Australia. No, it was Canada. Just recently had a commercial glorifying, attempting to beautify euthanasia. A commercial of some woman looking out to the ocean, talking about the bravery and the courage and the beauty of suicide, of ending your own life. And we've already heard some of the horror stories in nations such as Canada, that it's not merely euthanasia for people who are elderly, but it ultimately becomes something that it's a very real possibility for even children, even those who are young, because they're depressed, because they have anxiety, because they're emotionally sick. And in God's justice, it would not surprise me that the same adults who sought to put children to death by a lethal injection in their mother's womb would eventually, in a cosmic sense of irony, by the divine plan of God, be put to death by a lethal injection at their own hands and their own doing. God is just. God will not be mocked. God did not merely repay Pharaoh and Egypt for their tyranny and evil, but He repaid them with a just retaliation. The punishment fit the crime.
All right. Stop twisting my arm. I know you want to hear the inside scoop. Here it is, the glorious vision of Right Response Ministries for the first half of next year, 2023. We have not one, not two, but three massive endeavors that we will accomplish by the grace of God. The first you already know about. It's our Theonomy and Postmillennialism Conference. This is selling out incredibly fast. By the time this commercial airs, you may not even be able to get a ticket? I really don't know. So don't waste another moment. Go to rightresponseconference.com, rightresponseconference.com to join us for the Theonomy and Postmillennialism Conference next year. Now, this is where you come in. We need your help. Our next two endeavors are, number one, a documentary-style film, and number two, a brand new studio. Both of these things are seeking to accomplish one primary goal, which is excellent, high-quality, glorious Christian media. We are tired of as Christians, doing things poorly. We've done our best with what we have, but by God's grace, we want to do even better. This is not going to be just another video. This is not going to be a sermon or an interview or a podcast, but we're going to make a documentary-style film. And we're going to be hiring Nathan Anderson, the director of On Earth as It Is in Heaven, a very, very successful post-millennialism documentary that's on Amazon and YouTube, came out a couple years ago. He's going to be flying in from Chile to help us direct this film. And our documentary is going to be on postmillennialism and theonomy, why it's biblically valid, why it's absolutely necessary, and why, by the grace of God, theonomy and postmillennialism are currently on the rise. So we're going to make this film, and we need your support. And not just this film, but we're going to make all of our videos and podcasting and everything we do here at Right Response Ministries better. We want to achieve the highest level of quality and Christian excellence that we possibly can. That's where the new studio comes in. This new film, our date that we're shooting for, is that it would be complete and publicly available in May or June of 2023, next year. The studio, our goal is that it would be completely done in its construction and the equipment and the setup and the stage and everything by January, February of 2023 next year. We need your prayers. We need your encouragement. And for those of you who are willing to do so, we need your generous support. You can give towards these endeavors by going to rightresponseministries.com/donate. Again, that's rightresponseministries.com/donate. Thank you so much for all your help. God bless.